everybody to the Single and Stiletto Show. I'm Suzanne Oshima, and I'm a matchmaker and dating coach at Dream Bachelor and Bachelorette, and I'm also the founder of Single and Stilettos. Today we have on our show Robert Manni, and he's the author of The Guy's Guide to Love, and I'm so excited to have him here today because today we're talking about the hot topic of how to bring up being exclusive with a guy. So Robert, before we jump into this hot topic, first tell our audience a little bit about you.
Okay, my background's in marketing and advertising. I'm a novelist. I wrote the book, The Guy's Guide to Love, which is kind of a male Sex in the City. Mm-hmm. I'm also host of a weekly podcast on Blog Talk Radio called Guys Radio, and I'm a syndicated blogger and content creator at robertmanni.com, MANNI.com.
Great. Well, let's just jump into this hot topic. So how can a woman bring up being exclusive with a guy?
Well, I mean, there's different types of the talk, and when that term, the talk, kind of scares a lot of guys away because there's the big talk, which is about the state of the relationship and the next step of being exclusive. Mm-hmm. So that's a very special. That is the talk, but a lot of times the guys view that they're getting the talk about a lot of different issues within the relationship. So I think you need to really set this up that it's an important conversation that you want to have. And I wouldn't do that by text or by phone call, but when you broach the subject, it can't be something where he's going to, retreat into his shell like, oh no, I left the toilet seat up or something like that. He's got to know that it's really something that's close to your heart. So I think number one is you have to make sure that he's in the right frame of mind and ready to have an adult conversation on something that's very important to you and hopefully to him.
So, and what I'm hearing from you is it's all about timing, right?
The timing is very important. If he had a bad day at the office and he's distracted, and the same thing with you, it's not a good time to have a talk. I would also say, right after you guys have kind of gotten it on or whatever, I don't think that's necessarily the time to have a talk because everybody's guard is down then, and who knows what, everybody agreed to everything. So that's not a good time. But maybe, on a Friday or Saturday night and you've had a great weekend, a great date or whatever, and, it's time to have a conversation. And I think it depends on a lot of other factors, how long you've been going out together, kind of what you know about each other. Are you divorced? Do you have kids? Does he have kids? Is he divorced? How long have you dated? I mean, how far have you gone in the relationship? But if all those checkpoints are there where it makes perfect sense, and let's say you've dated for 6 months and you really aren't interested in seeing anybody else, that might be the time to start to have the talk and get a temperature reading from him. Now, if he responds with not wanting to have the talk or a lot of discomfort, I mean, he's giving you somewhat of an answer just by how he responds.
That's true. That is true. And do you suggest if he responds by kind of resisting that she kind of let it go, or should she keep pushing?
I think every situation is different. I think she should give it a second try, maybe come at it from a different angle. But I think if she lets the guy know that this is something that's been on her mind, that's important to her, if he still, wants to run and hide, that's not a good sign. I think he needs to man up and have the conversation. If he's interested, he should be willing to state that. And if he's not, then he should be willing to state that also. And if you're a woman, you're putting yourself kind of out that way, okay, you don't want to lay your cards on the table and say, this is how I feel. I think you want to find out from the guy, how is he feeling about the relationship? And you might have to prod him a little bit and walk him along a little bit to get him to start talking about his feelings, because it's not easy for a lot of guys to talk about their feelings.
So if she tries to get him to talk about his feelings, about her and the relationship, and do you think she should do that before she brings up the topic of exclusivity?
Yeah, I think, because exclusivity is if that's the net result that she's looking for, mm-hmm. I think she's got get a sense as to how he feels about the relationship. Is he happy? Is being with her, making him, feel really good about himself and about they feel good about each other. And if that's the case, I think we would all ask ourselves, if I'm really happy with this one person, why do I have a need to see a lot of other people? Now, the person could have been in a marriage or a long-term relationship and just got out of that, and it's a rebound thing. So you don't want to, every situation is different. You don't want to go too quickly. But if all the signals say this is something that looks like it can really work, and a lot of guys will just string things along. The way a guy thinks is, if I'm happy, I don't say anything.
Right.
If I'm unhappy, I'm going to bring it up, and then I'm going to get a response. Now, the response is either going to make me happy, or it's going to keep me where I am, where I'm not liking that response. But that's basically all a guy will do about it. A woman, a lot of times, will have a talk where you go around and around until you get some type of consensus, and the woman feels like, the guy is going to feel sometimes like, oh, she has to win. And that's not what the woman's really looking for, but sometimes it comes across that way. When it comes to the talk, I think you have to really, at the point where both people are ready to have the talk, you have to be very clear and then have that talk. And if it necessitates the woman saying, I need to know where you want this relationship to go, then say it. Because guys are pretty direct, and they prefer the direct approach instead of having to go through this whole thing about their feelings.
Right. And I want to just bring up something, because I find too many times that some people think that it's just about what they want, and while she may want something that's exclusive, you have to remember this talk is a conversation between you and him, and getting his input about how he feels about the relationship. It's not just about what you want, it's what you both want, and coming to the best conclusion possible, because too many times a woman will go into this talk going, well, this is what I want, right?
Yeah, well, and that's fine, but I mean, ultimately, why would anybody want to be with somebody who doesn't want to be with them? So if you want to be exclusive with somebody and he doesn't want to be exclusive with you, it's like that should tell you something right there. Now, he might not be ready to.
Right.
He might think that that's just going to happen organically, and maybe this will be a tipping point where he'll say, you know what, you're right, we should do that. Or he might need that wake-up calls, and I think women are smart to like push that along a little bit. But you don't want to twist his arm.
Exactly. You don't want to give him an ultimatum. That's the worst thing you can do. Okay, so what are some other tips about bringing up this topic to him?
I think you've got to be, you have to listen actively, and I think you've got to be gentle about it, because again, the guys are sometimes uncomfortable talking about their feelings, and he might not exactly know what it is you really want to talk about. And if you're kind of getting the sense that like he's being communicative, but he doesn't really get what you're getting at, then again, you can't err by being direct with a guy, because men are direct with each other.
Exactly.
We're not like, we're rarely passive aggressive with each other. So if you have something to say, and he's not getting it, then just say it and take your chances. That would be my advice. What do you have to lose? You'll get your answer.
Okay, so my last question for you is, if it comes down to that he's not ready to be exclusive, what's the best way a woman could walk away with it from this and still feel, have her feelings intact and handle this with grace in a guy's eye?
Well, there's different levels of it. He might want to be exclusive, but he hadn't thought about it, and he might need a little time to think. And he might have just, again, been in a long-term relationship, and he's not in the same emotional place in terms of availability as you are. And I don't think a woman has to walk away feeling any sense of rejection if she's not getting the exact answer she was looking for. I think if it's left where there's some strings untied there, you can go back and revisit and then get a clearer sense, because you might have caught the guy off guard where he wasn't expecting that, and maybe he's having such a great time, he hadn't been really thinking about, oh, I'm never going to date any other women again, this is the one for me. That's a big step for a lot of guys. So I think you've got to be understanding of men's frailty in that sense, and be willing to come back at them a second time.
Exactly.
Now, if you get avoidance the second time, then that's not good. Then maybe you have to like lay it on the line, saying this is what I need going forward. And then if he doesn't get that, then you have to make a determination. Are you willing to walk away or not? Yeah,
I think that's a really, really good point. So these have been some great tips. So Robert, tell our audience how they can find you.
Very simply, go to my website, robertmanni.com. There's all types of information about the book, the blog, the radio podcast. It's all there.
Great. Well, thanks everybody for joining us on the Single and Stiletto Show. Our show is available both in video format and podcast format. If you like to view the videos, you can go to singleandstilettos.com. If you would like to get the podcast, you can download it from iTunes. And if you'd like to get our free report on the top 10 secrets on what attracts a man and what turns him off, you can click right here on the video, or you can go to singleandstilettos.com.